What's up, people? It's your boy Profection back again for another video. This video is going to be on interracial dating. Okay, it's a very touchy subject. I've seen it all over the net. Some people have kind of, they're really dead against interracial coupling, diluting their gene pool and all of this kind of stuff. Some of it is deep-hearted racism. Some of it is genuinely a concern for hardships for the future generations. So it's not so much racism, it's just the hardships. It's like, why would you do that? Because you're kind of making life hard for yourself, and that's what this video is about, really. It's about, is it a bad thing? Is dating outside of your race a bad thing? The first thing I want to say to people is this, is that some people have gone as far as to use Bible quotes, and then they've said, oh, the Canaanites must stay with the Canaanites, and and I can't remember that. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because, again, it's not a Bible bashing thing. But some people have used the Bible and said that this race must stay with that race, and this race must stay with this race. And I haven't read it for myself, but I've heard them quote it. And you know what they're saying may be true. It might be true. It might be that the Israelites stay with these people and the Hebrewites stay with. It might be that might be the case. But you got to understand that for some of us, we have already been mixed. Okay, even certain Caucasians out there, they may be walking around thinking, my blood is Aryan and it's pure and all of that. But the reality is, it isn't pure. If you look back down if you go back into history, your great granddad might have been Asian, might have been black, might have been Chinese, might have been, even with black people. You go even in my family, I think my great granddad was Indian. So it's already been mixed. If you're going by that logic, then it's already been mixed. But I can understand people are probably saying, yeah, but Luke, although it's already been mixed, right now you're black. So that might have happened in the past, but you're black now. But what I say to those people is, I'm not going to get into the politics of it all. The reality of it is, my blood is mixed. It's already been mixed. Yes, I am black now, but it has already been mixed. And what's important to understand is that it's not the same for everyone. You need to understand that. It's very important, because if I was raised in Jamaica, I put everything I own on it, I would have had a Jamaican woman by now. I would have been settled down with 4 or 5 kids, and it would have been a loving woman that actually cared for me, actually cared for her. The reason why is because when I come outside my house, the whole 90% of Jamaica is Jamaicans, or let's say 70%, because even in Jamaican there's Asian, there's a lot of Asian, Indian, all that kind of stuff over there. But even with those other races out there, say 60-70% of Jamaica is nothing but black Jamaicans. So the ratio to me settling down with a black woman is going to be a lot higher. However, if I'm born here in the UK, and when I step outside my house, all I see is maybe a mixture. I'm now born in a European country, United Kingdom, England. When I step outside my house, that ratio isn't the same. I may see more white European women, English women, than what I will see of black women. So people will say, yeah, but you can still get black women, this and that. I can still get black women, but they're not. There's 2 things that's affecting that, and that's that there are not as many. My chances of meeting a black woman that's on the same wavelength, on the same frequency as myself, the same kind of mentality, it's not as big as it would be in Jamaica. I have more to choose from. It's not as big. It's like, it's hard. It's equivalent to me almost winning the national lottery. It's kind of like that. A needle in a haystack, kind of like that. I'm limiting myself. So that's the first thing, is that there's not as many to pick from. You know, what I would class as not decent women, but women on my level. Because women may say, well, I may not be decent, so it's not for me to say decent women, because I myself may not be a decent man. But what I do believe in is that we look for something equivalent to ourselves, and me finding something equivalent to myself may be a lot more harder because I'm not in Jamaica, I'm in the UK now. The second thing is this, is that the influences of the Western world, you need to look at that as well, is that not only is it hard for me to find a black woman that's on the same wavelength, that's on the same frequency, but also the influences of the Western world put women almost on a pedestal, you know, which I've talked about in my MGTOW video. So when I'm approaching these women, black women, because remember we're talking about interracial dating and things like that. When I approach these black women, they're not the same black women that would be in Jamaica. They're different. They have a different kind of mentality. Therefore, overall, based upon those two things, based upon the fact that there's less of them, and now the ones that I do find have the Western world's mentality, it would be silly for me to walk around limiting myself. It would be silly for me to be standing at a bus stop and there's a beautiful, attractive Caucasian or Asian or Indian standing there looking at me, and she's trying to get my attention, and I'm turning my back to them and looking at a black woman that's literally turning her back to me. So she don't want to know me, and I'm ignoring the women. I've got my back turned to the Asian and Indian and Chinese or whatever that want to give me the time of day. I'm turning my back to them because of my race. It's just silly. It's just silly, you know. We don't have much time on this earth. It goes really quickly. It reminds me of a time where I went to a club called Crystal's nightclub in the UK, mature nightclub, and there was this guy. It was like a Caucasian club. You get a few kind of, you know, footballers in there, and some of them had the old mentality from the 60s and 70s that, you know, blacks shouldn't mix with whites and all that kind of stuff. And one guy's come up to me and he's like, oh, blacks and whites shouldn't mix, you stay with your own, and all of that kind of stuff. But the first thing I noticed about the guy was miserable anyway. So I can tell you straight off the bat that the guy obviously hadn't found someone that he truly wanted to settle down with. He's one of those guys that just settled down just for the fun of it. Just said, look, I'm desperate, I'll just take whatever comes, you know. But this video isn't dedicated to that. This video is dedicated to people that truly want to find someone that is right for them on that frequency, someone that you want to come home to. You don't finish work and then suddenly you're hiding at the pub away from your own woman and kids. It's what I'm trying to say. This guy was one of those people. You could tell from a mile off, yeah. And what I turned around and said to him after exchange of words, I just said to him, listen, we don't have much time in this world, you know, and there's only a few select women that you're going to meet in your lifetime that are going to be, you know, I don't really like to use the term soulmate because I don't really believe there is a soulmate, but if there was such a thing or something equivalent to it, your soulmate isn't necessarily going to be within the same race. It's not going to necessarily be within the same race. So if you're walking around being racist and everything else, you're restricting yourself from finding that person. And if you're restricting yourself from finding that person, then you're going to end up in one of those kind of loveless relationships where she's out there cheating on you, you're out there cheating on her, you don't even know what she's doing, you don't really care what she's doing, she don't really care what you're doing, and that kind of toxic relationship where you don't really genuinely, you could, I'm not saying that, you know, those that don't go outside their race, or those that don't follow my way of thinking are going to end up in that kind of relationship. But what I am saying is the possibility of you ending up in that kind of relationship is a lot higher if you have that kind of one-sided kind of mentality. You're put on this planet, you don't have that many opportunities to find the person that you want to find, your soulmate or your equivalent to it. And she could be Chinese, she could be Japanese, she could be Indian, she could be Malaysian, she could be Brazilian, she could be, and the list goes on really. The reality of it is, don't restrict yourself, especially when you're in the Western world, such as America, such as the United Kingdom, because all of these people that are suddenly forcing these negative views on you, you must do this and you must do that. When you're in a happy place, you don't really walk around with that kind of mentality anyway. So, and they're not sitting back and self-reflecting and looking at themselves and saying, wait a minute here, why am I so miserable and why am I forcing this down other people's throats? Misery needs company. So how they look at it is, I'm miserable, therefore you deserve to be miserable. No, I don't deserve to be miserable. I'm a good person. I've worked hard in this world, in this lifetime, and I deserve to find someone that truly loves me. And I truly love her. And it's got nothing to do with me being racist. And yeah, don't get me wrong. And this is why I want to end this video, is that don't be silly and assume that you can just jump into any mixed interracial relationship. You can't. You have to do your homework on it, because when you do marry into someone, you do marry into the family. That's something that's really important. If you are taking my words seriously or listening to it, when you marry someone, you marry into their family. So if there's one person out there that did listen to what I was saying and said, well, I'm going to go for these interracial relationships based upon what you're saying, then listen to what I'm saying. When you marry someone, you marry into their family. So she may be the most beautiful woman in the world, really innocent, really sweet, but if her family is kind of the total opposite, then you need to kind of reconsider, because there is future generations, there is stress, there is arguments between your family and their family, conflicts and things like that. There is influences, negative influences that will break you up. So you do have to kind of sit down there and ask yourself, do I want to marry into this family? Is it genuinely worth it? What would be the other problem? Yeah, I mean, that would probably be, I think that would be the only problem that would prevent me from marrying into an interracial relationship. And I think for black men out there are certain races that will say, right, I'll only strictly go for the black men. Okay, and this is important as well. When black women say they want to strictly date Chinese, they want to strictly date white, they want to strictly date this, believe me, whatever man gets hold of that black woman, a lot of the time that black woman's she's going out of her way to please that person. Okay, unfortunately for us as black men, we kind of get the worse end of the stick or whatever. When other people from outside of our races say they strictly want to date a black man, it doesn't work in our favor. So for black men out there that are watching this video, I would just say to you, be very careful when you're going for a woman that says to us as black men, I only strictly date black men. Be very wary. Me personally, I stay away from them, because they tend to think that they are black, maybe because they grew up with a couple of black friends, maybe because they watched a couple of what's that English movie now? They watched Get Rich or Die Trying. They watched Adulthood, They watched a series of it, and the other side they think they're black. And these kind of women, they think they know what black is, and they think they can tell you how to be black men and how black men should behave. They think they know more about the culture than what we do. And what they've done is they've taken on the wrong kind of values of what black is about. They haven't taken on the spirituality of black. They've taken on this kind of ghetto ratchetness of black. So I say to black men, just be very careful of when you're dating other people from other races that claim that they know about black people and that they see themselves as black and they only date black men. I'm just saying to you, in other cultures it works. When our women are doing it, it works in other cultures' favor. When it's other cultures that strictly want to date black men, it doesn't always work in our favor. Somehow they think they're more black than what we are, and they want to tell you how to be a black man, and that's not how black men are and all of that. So how are black men? You think because of adulthood and kidulthood you can now tell me how to be. stay away from them. That's all I want to say. But anyway, that's my take on interracial dating. Just be careful. Just do your research before you marry in. And if you are considering marrying, you should be with someone for at least 2 years anyway. You know, before you truly get to get a feel for them. I don't believe in this kind of 6-month marriage, year marriage. You want to be around the person for at least 2 years before you marry in, or continue to, you know, consider marrying them. Anyway, that's my take on interracial dating. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you around for another video. Thank you for watching, and peace.